when you really think about the game itself. Like, that safety is super important. It should be, one of the top, things when you're playing a sport.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming back to another recording of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. We're just in the beginning of February. Spring training's around the corner. And basically, want to give a little recap on Foul Ball Safety Now and how it started. And then we'll bring on our guest shortly after. Basically, Foul Ball Safety Now started back in 2019. I saw morning news as a big baseball fan. I was upset when I saw a little kid get hit by a foul ball, and just had the instincts for years past that this was always an issue. A couple of times I sat really close above the dugout when there was no netting at all above the dugout on the MLB level, and it was a little intimidating. I got to be honest with you. It was a fun playoff game back in 2006 when I was sitting like a seat or two away from Jerry Seinfeld. It was a great playoff game where the Mets actually won and unfortunately lost the following game, Game 7. That was unfortunately a major loss in the Mets' years of being a Met fan, so that's who I am. But that's what happened. Adam Wainwright was pitching Game 7 for the Cardinals. He may have just retired. So he had a long career. So basically, a couple of close calls, even back in Brooklyn and New York when I was with a group of people, young and old, were outside in Coney Island. And a ball flies over the side. We were waiting to go inside the game. We were just hanging out, people young and old, and a ball flies outside on the concrete. Before it hit the concrete, it actually hit this young person we were with, hit him right on the forearm on a fly. It left a big mark on his head. And we learned what happened in Modesto, California, not too long ago, where unfortunately a woman was standing outside the ballpark and she had a very serious injury because the balls will hit the pavement or the window in the parking lot or sometimes even hit a person like it did. So why are 10 or 15 balls raining down over the sides during batting practices and games? Maybe that's a problem that needs to be addressed. I believe it is. So that being said, I started Foul Ball Safety Now back in 2019. I saw disturbing news and I said, I'm going to take this forward. And I have. And about the time I came out with Foul Ball Safety Now, as people see my website, they'll see we have writings going back into 2019. There's also reports. ESPN showed something called Exhibit A on my website. It's a 5-minute video which demonstrated serious injuries to kids back in 2019. And at that time, I thought this issue should be addressed because there were balls going past end of dugouts at high speeds. And why would any professional ballpark, not only the 30 MLB clubs, but we're aware of 169 other professional clubs, including the affiliates of the major leagues, similar to what happened in Modesto in 2025 where the balls rained over the side, but this is inside. Why are all these ballparks not having netting past end of dugouts? So I started doing netting reports in 21 and 22. I called all the 120 affiliates, found out at least 1/3 of them didn't have netting past end of dugouts. So supposedly Manfred and professional baseball were going to address this after this a couple of high-profile incidents, one in 2017 in New York when Todd Frazier hit a ball, and another one in 2019 where Amora hit a ball down the line in Houston. Todd Frazier's one was at Yankee Stadium as a member of the Yankees. And I didn't even know about that issue in 2017, and I'm a New Yorker, so it doesn't necessarily make the news or make the kitchen table where people need to discuss how to go to the games, where to park the car inside, where to park the car outside at some of these professional ballparks. And certainly inside the ballpark. So I made calls in 2021 and 2022 and 2023 to all of the 120 affiliates. And as of the end of 2023, there were still 40 plus teams on the major league affiliates and 30 teams in the partner league teams. And there's still about 30 in the MLB partner league teams with no netting past end of dugouts. So that's 70 plus teams. Now, as of this year, most of the teams on the MLB affiliates have extended netting further down the lines, which of course is an improvement. It's not a solution. But at the end of the day, why did MLB make an announcement at the end of 2022 that by 2025, all of their affiliates would have extended netting further down the line as possible? I think families are gonna learn that for the summers of '23 and '24, after this was announced in 2022, they were sitting in places similar to that horrific video from 2019, and they're not gonna be appreciative of the fact that MLB gave them 2.5 years to extend. Most of those teams have extended, some have not, most have, but again, we need to know before we get to the ballpark where to park outside, where to go in the game. People who work with me, like Brianna, know where to bring their 2-year-old baby inside and out, and no problem, no buts about it. We hope that's the reality. So, again, there's still work to be done, and even with netting extensions, even down to the foul pole, it's improvement, it's not solution. We're still aware of people that have been blinded in one eye in Pittsburgh and kids critically injured in 2023, even with extended netting. Always interesting to talk about what we are finding at foul ball safety. Every turn we take, we're finding more things, more train wrecks and car crashes. I hate to put it that way, but we're still in the dark ages in professional baseball 2025. And we have a great guest coming up who has baseball experience. Brown is going to introduce him. And we're excited to go deeper on this issue. Looking forward to it. Brianna, how are you today?
Doing great, Jordan. I'm very excited for this conversation today. I think we're going to shed some light on this issue and hopefully enlighten our listeners about foul ball safety. So, without further ado, I'd love to invite our guest on today. He is a baseball fan and a former baseball player from New York City. Welcome, Lex Duarte.
Hello, thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Jordan, for having me. Really appreciate it.
Hey, Lex. Hey, thank you for representing inquiring minds want to know, and we certainly have a sense that you know a little bit about this, and we're happy for you to bring questions to us about any research that we've done or any thoughts
Absolutely.
you want to volunteer from your experience would be great. So
Absolutely.
you're our guest host for the day. You take the reins and take the lead. So
Absolutely.
it's all yours.
Okay,
Got
so
it.
absolutely. So I wanted to ask, so what is being done and what's being implemented right now in terms of like safety for just like baseball players? Baseball players, not only their safety, but also like the fans. What is being implemented besides I know like the netting that's behind a lot of ballparks that I've seen, but what other things are being implemented just in safety wise when it comes to like foul ball?
Sure. So, again, each ballpark that we've been following are like the 30 major league ballparks and the 169 other professional ballparks. It's really hard for me to say or give any reassurance to anyone about how to go to the game and where to sit because I'm not that familiar with
Right.
all of those ballparks. So everyone needs to study their own situation, whether being parked outside the ballpark and walking into the ballpark, because we know of the woman who got hurt in Modesto. I was contacted by a
Right.
lawyer, an affiliate of
Right.
the Mariners. So they're not really revealing all that's happened year after year after year. We all need to know and all need to study what went down the last previous spring and summer and what they can expect this spring and summer. And I don't really feel we've been included, which is basically the majority of the baseball people who support the game, which is the fans. I don't think they've really been kept in the loop on this matter. And
Right.
even the Baseball Players Union, who've negotiated with MLB owners for collective bargaining, we've heard 3 separate occasions they brought up this matter of netting. But I'm
Right.
wondering, did they draw a line in the sand and say something like, "Guys, it has to be a non-starter before we can hit the ball at 100 miles an hour
Right.
anymore." We need to know that there's not gonna be people sitting in any kind of harm's way. And if there are going to be remaining people sitting in harm's way, wherever that may be, we need to have some sort of disclosure or some sort of conversation and figure out maybe it needs to be age appropriate. Maybe there is the element of danger that we can't just spring it on them after they're hurt. We need to kind of spring it on them before. And then if they
Right.
want to sign on to be part of that. But again, until we have these conversations, we're not really going to have a back and forth because if it's up to MLB and the MLB Players Union, I think they would rather just keep it internally, all this kind of privy knowledge. But that's just my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah. And I was also like kind of thinking, like
Sure.
solution wise, would do you
Yes.
think like maybe I've been to Yankee Stadium and I've been to City Field,
Yes.
right? And when
Yes.
I've gone to like games there, I don't notice like big poster boards, maybe talking about maybe like being more conscious or aware of like foul
Sure.
balls. So maybe
Mhm.
like that's something that can be like implemented in a way that, hey, you're making it more aware that, these foul balls are really coming, they're a
Mhm.
danger, to the public. So,
Sure.
how can we put it out there a little bit more?
Right. So I've been asked that before on some of these recordings. And what I say is the time to have this discussion is not when you get to the game. The last I checked, we're not superheroes and action figures. So as
Right,
long as we're there, you see that video from 5 minutes from ESPN, the Exhibit A video. It's not humanly possible to get out of the way, no matter what age you are, even if it's your night off and you were former third baseman or for the Yankees or Mets, like Greg Nettles or anyone else who played for the Mets, David Wright. They're
right,
not getting out of the way,
right,
sitting there with their family, chunking on a hot dog, eating,
right,
drinking a beer. It's not. Why are they there to begin with? Is unfortunately the argument I have to present. The time to
mm,
tell us all about this is not the sign, even on your seat. What are you going to do? You're already there. There's a sign on
right,
your seat that says, "Be careful of a foul ball." Why isn't this happening or have happened at the kitchen table? And I feel
right,
like it's a shame and it's a scar on the game for running the game that way and just not giving us all the information we deserve. Now, people
right,
may say the percentages are so greatly against it, but that's not the point. Brianna and I are finding all these self-reported injuries from 2025. It's a real head scratcher. People who've been bruised by balls big time at baseball games in the summer and the spring and the summer of 2025 are self-reporting their injuries on things like TikTok. And sometimes they even make music to go with their black and blue marks. It's kind of ridiculous, but hey, at least we're getting this data and at least
right,
we're getting to discover this stuff that we wouldn't have found either way without it. We want to keep on presenting the news as we get it. And I
right.
just feel like baseball has their comeuppance about how they told us about what was the realities and how they didn't tell us about what the realities were and let everyone decide.
Yeah, no, there are different methods. So, for example, in places like Japan, they have team attendants who are blowing whistles whenever the foul ball is coming in.
Wow.
But the reaction time is definitely an issue. It's a fraction of a second. And you see even the professional players who do this for a living, who are arguably some of the best in the world, right? They're sitting in the dugout, and you see on the broadcast when the ball sails towards the dugout, nobody is making to catch it. They are doing everything they can. They're ducking, they're getting out of the way. And I feel like that's so telling.
Right.
So, if that's the attitude from people who are insiders to the game towards foul balls, why are fans being taught to romanticize that experience?
I could certainly peel back the onion and really go through the years from 1970 to the present time. And even Brendan, the guy I've been with now for 6.5 years, we've interviewed, unfortunately, too many people that have been seriously injured. One person who actually lost his wife, Irwin. She died a few days after she was hit at Dodger Stadium in 2018. And,
Wow.
yeah, you get to meet people like that, and,
Right, right.
he's not too he's of course not happy about that,
Absolutely,
and then
no.
and nobody in Dodger world knew about it till 2019, so for the whole month of September, at
It's just
least
not a hush hush.
everyone should have known that
Yeah.
somebody was this announcement should have been made, we don't have the nets up yet, so beware. Something should have been made in 2019, told everyone who's sitting in that seat or that row or that section. And clearly, for the whole month of September, there was probably 15 home games because it was late August. So we know that for at least half of those home games. It wasn't till Labor Day 2019 till the nets were raised vertically behind home plate. So April, May, June, July, and August, even though it may have been reported a few months earlier, and how that was reported, believe it or not, it was actually the daughter of the mom, who unfortunately got hit and died a few days later, who saw an ESPN report by Willie Weinbaum, and Willie wrote about the casualties in professional baseball that he was aware of. Her mother wasn't even included on the list, and she called him, and he responded right away. Willie came to one of my virtual press conferences as well, and Irwin's been to a few of my virtual press conference experiences, and Jana. Irwin's been to about 6 or 7 of them. So we're just trying to bring a baseball civilized society. Ultimately, that's what it's all about, where everyone knows exactly where to park the car inside, knows where to walk in, and knows where to come out. And I think the pun is level playing field. We all need to be on a level playing field. And once we're at that place, then everyone will make informed decisions. Until then, it's not when you get to the game, it should be at the kitchen table. Give us everything we need to know at the kitchen table before we go decide to venture out and park the car somewhere at one of these professional ballparks or go inside one of these professional ballparks or major league ballparks, etc. Yeah, it's just meant having a conversation, get everyone caught up to speed. That's what we're trying to do. And it doesn't look good. It's still the dark ages, 2025, when it comes to professional baseball, from based on everything we know.
When it comes to like foul balls, because like playing baseball and just like knowing the game and just like when you're playing and just kind of like as a baseball player, it's so hard to try to like have a reaction time, for them, but also the fans. I like how you're bringing this up to light because it's something that I didn't really like think about. When you really think about the game itself, like that safety is super important. It should be, one of the top, things when you're playing a sport. I just wanted to say I'm very impressed with, just bringing up this topic.
We appreciate that, and we're speaking to baseball players as well. So far this year, I've had a couple of conferences. One conference, and I have, I think, 2 coming up. So there'll be 2 this week, actually. So, 1 conference plus another 2, maybe 3. It's exciting because baseball players, it gives them a safe place to open up about what they may be currently going through or even thinking about their games when they used to play. So, we're
Right.
speaking to people. Yeah, it's an opportunity to open up about the issue. Brendan, the guy I've been with for 6.5 years, we've already interviewed more than 30 guys with professional baseball experience,
Oh,
mostly
wow.
minor league players. But we
Right.
found these guys who were coaches and instructors throughout the country, and we blasted around 300 of them with emails, and like 10% of them were curious. And a lot of them are
Wow.
getting the monkey off their back for the first time and revisiting whatever ghosts or skeletons they may have in their closet. Because
Right.
recently, I'll just tell you this, somebody who just spoke with me off the record said to me, "Hey, Jordan, on kids' themes night, we really, really cringe." I'm like, wow, because they know the kids are exposed to their balls that are being hit. And hearing that from a guy who plays professional baseball is pretty deep. That may be coming out on recording very soon because people are meeting me and they're serving as coordinators and they're talking about getting like 5 or 6 guys together. So I've done one of these conferences so far where it was 5 baseball players and myself. I would say 3 of them were quite young and they were 22 or so. And the other guy probably was in his 40s. So there was 4 and myself and was 5. And that was very good. And what came out in that discussion was a young guy who I guess was around 22. He said, "Every time I swing the bat, I'm worried about it." So maybe these
God.
baseball players are feeling it all the time. It's exciting that people are getting an opportunity to find the space to open up about this. So that's all I can do. And they're putting their names to the conversation, which is exciting, so that's good. That's one of the conferences we've done. The next conference, if they wanna give me their names, that's great. They're curious, they ask me questions, but these are insiders themselves, and Brendan and I have also interviewed more than 30 guys who've gone on the record, and once my book or book series comes out, yeah, their names will be known, but, it's a matter of just keep on collecting more information, and that's what we do. So, we're excited to you to bring any of your own experiences. Do you have any direct experiences as a professional player, and how high a level did you achieve when you played?
So I didn't play professional, but I played enough baseball that I know the game. Foul balls are just they are dangerous, and it's just like I said, it's something that I know one time, which
Mhm.
was me not having the correct grip on the bat. I kind of like let it go, and I
Right.
didn't mean to do it, and it went into the stands,
Yeah.
and I was
Right.
just like, "Oh,
Right.
man," anyone can really, if you're not aware and you don't have proper netting, that barrier, it's there for a reason, and it needs to, be properly implemented.
Yeah, yeah. There's one commercial that we probably have all seen without even realizing. The Allstate guy, they call him the Mayhem guy, and
Right,
they keep on showing that commercial even during football season. I just saw it a few days ago. He throws the bat and it goes right into the window of the car, and clearly it makes a big sound. Allstate,
right,
by Allstate. And there's actually a woman in the car who could have obviously in real life could have been exiting the car at the time the bat flew out. It doesn't have a route on where it's going, the bat. It could have went a little to the right or left and hit a person exiting the car or something,
right,
right? Right.
right,
So you'll see that commercial. It's pretty telling. And that's been seen a million times or a billion times. So once people see that and then they see the video that we have on foul ball safety now, which
right,
clearly that was the T-Mobile incident. It was Seattle, Detroit. It was an exciting playoff game, lots going on. Jorge Polanco hits 2 home runs previous at bats. Next at bat, one of the next at bats, he gets an infield single, bat breaks. Nobody knew where
right,
the bat had gone. But then 5 minutes later, or a few minutes later, when they're making a pitching change, they actually showed the replay of the bat coming into the seat over the net like a boomerang, broken bat that could have pierced your heart. Why are broken bats in 2025 still making their way over nets at human beings that could pierce your heart? It's beyond me.
right,
We wrote Seattle, and we wrote them, and we're writing them again, and we'll see if we'll get a response because that's not cool. I even know of another incident at Yankee Stadium, and this is just me watching TV and seeing things by accident. Or, yes,
right,
I am looking out for these things. It was Yankees and Oreos. People can jot it down. It was June 22nd, 2025. It's a 15 minutes, 12 or 13-second video. It's,
right,
those recaps of the game, right? You go to the 8-minute marker and you'll see like 20 seconds later, you're going to see a bat flung out of somebody's hand and go into the
wow,
seats at Yankee Stadium, right between home plate and the first base dugout in that area. Go, why are bats still making their way over the net? It could
right,
decapitate, and luckily for like a really hot day in New York, nobody was in any of those freaking expensive corporate seats. So they would have gotten some heavy duty damage. You can see that video and you hear the announcers making like sarcastic remarks. Even with the
right,
uh even with the Seattle situation with the bat I was telling you about that flew over the nets like a boomerang, you even hear
right,
the announcer, which is 5 minutes later as they break into commercial for pitching change, the bat's coming in. He even says, "Yikes, look out." And nobody said anything, except us. What's going on? Didn't anyone just see that bat go in? And then the
right,
announcer even saying on top of that, "Yikes, look out," for effect. I mean,
right,
come on, people. Just because it was slow
right,
motion doesn't mean it doesn't mirror that Allstate commercial. It does, and it's
right,
terrible. Of course, on the
right,
Allstate commercial, nothing was in slow motion. It was like bang, break, window, that kind of thing. So
right,
people are still feeling the exciting part of games, and they're not putting 2 and 2 together. Playoff game, excitement, 8th inning, whatever, it was late in the game. Nobody put 2 and 2 together, but we have to. That's what we do with foul ball. It's exciting. It's always exciting to find new things and new stories, and again, every turn we take, we feel like nobody really has discovered this issue like they should, and that's why we keep it going. I mean, these is very important discussions, and we want just people to realize that you deserve to be on a level playing field, just as the baseball players may tell their own family members, because Brendan and I have interviewed more than 30 of them, and we certainly feel they're in the know. And just
right,
recently, holding these baseball meetings with 5, 6 at a time, and again, a few more are coming up. We've only done one so far, by this one player saying, "I have anxiety every time I swing at the pitch because he's worried where the ball's going to go." And then also, another guy who I'm talking with is talking about how he's worried on kids' night that the feelings really spike. They get real more nervous, like there's more kids exposed. That's right. You
Right.
guys should don't you want to play the game as a player free and clear? Of course you do. And we should get to
Mhm.
that baseball civilized society that we all seek. But we're not there, and we will be there. There's got to be some pain in the legacy of the game and healing before we can really move on. And it has to be acknowledged. And we meet the victims all the time, and it's very terrible. Yeah, so it's very exciting to be part of Foul Ball Safety Now, and Brianna's been with me for more than a year, and Brendan's been with me for about 6.5 years, and every
Mhm.
turn we take, we feel like there's so much more information that the general public needs to discover for themselves, and they could determine for themselves whether they felt like they dodged a line drive to the face. It could have been the day before or the day after. They're not gonna appreciate, I believe, that they were subjected to that when they thought the only thing they had to worry about that day was the weather. And no, you had other things to worry about, and you didn't know that, and what you don't know don't hurt you, something like that. I don't buy that, and families are not gonna buy that either. They may be la-di-da-di-da today, but once they discover what we had, they're gonna be like, "What? We were there with our 2 and 4-year-old 4 times a year? I just saw this video from 2019. Heck, it's still going on in professional baseball where I go right now. What's going on here?" And we hope people will put 2 and 2 together. There's still at least 30 to 40 cities with no netting past the end of dugout. That's not acceptable. So we'll continue this conversation. This is very exciting. It was very generous to bring you time and perspective. Brianna, you may have a question.
Absolutely.
I do, yeah, Lex. Thinking back to the fields and the ballparks that you played in when you were playing, do you feel like there was proper protections in place for the families who were probably bringing, younger siblings of some of the players? And do you feel like heads up is the correct line of defense?
Yeah, so it just kinda like for me, it was kinda like depending like where I played at, so it's just like if you played like more like inner city baseball fields, you didn't have like really proper just like safety, It's just kinda like you have the field, but you have like maybe one little barrier that's, gonna stop the ball from, from coming at you. But I feel like it just depends like, where the baseball fields were also like situated, because I've played in Jersey and Pennsylvania and certain fields, the equipment and just, the barriers were just, depending on the element, and where you're playing at. It would be kind of like hard, for some places, and some environments to, be able to keep, that safety. But in others, it's just kind of like you go with your instinct and, your reflexes, your safety is your reflex.
We are still looking, Lex, to find whether it's a public park or a professional ballpark or stadium, the
Right.
place where it could be explained, this is how you come and this is how you leave, and you should not
Right.
have a problem. Because the majority of the people that are part of the baseball experience are the fans and the spectators by a
Right.
lot, and they need to be dignified. Now, what baseball players have to deal with on the field, that's a whole nother issue, being
Right.
60 feet away and 6 inches away from a ball coming right at you, and unfortunately, that may be the worst or the most predictable, but unfortunately, I can't say the most predictable, but you're close, maybe 60 feet, maybe fans are 100 feet away, but again, bats are still making way over nets. We can talk about this forever, and it would be good to have this math and science guys on to determine how fast balls travel, etcetera, but we know bats are still making their way over nets. And we know people like even on the field, Hunter Windelstadt, the umpire, he's 100 feet away and he's staring without blinking as an umpire would be. And he got one right between the eyes and he hasn't been back to work since. And that's
Wow.
yeah, the Hunter Windelstadt tap.
Wow.
That was in the spring of 2025, a professional umpire. And his father was Harry
Right.
Windelstadt. And I remember that name when I was growing up. So Hunter, who's paying attention, I'm sure, and he's 90 feet away from home to first, plus probably 10 feet or so behind the bag. And he got one right in between the face and the eye and the head, whatever.
Wow.
And so, I can only imagine what the players experience on the field being on the hot corners and stuff like that. The coach, Mike Klubaugh from 2008, got struck by a ball, unfortunately died a few days later, I think it was. And then at least there was some proactivity there, where in professional baseball, he was a minor league coach at the time, I think, and I think it was they were proactive. MLB and the other affiliates and the other leagues, I think, started making the coaches wear helmets. Ironically, that might not have even saved him, Lex, because I think he was struck in
Mhm.
the neck, but at least it was proactive, and proactive is always positive. So we're always into hearing positive steps, but we want solutions for everyone. There's no doubt about it. I think this is a very good call, and we're excited for a new season, but we would love the word integrity to really be genuinely incorporated into the game. If the announcers are giving us propaganda about integrity and how wholesome everything is, they're really not looking at the whole picture. And when they do, and then they tell me now there's a transparent, everyone knows exactly where to park these ballparks. Everyone knows, like Brianna with young kids, exactly where to come into the ballpark, not standing outside, that 10 or 15 balls may rain down during those 3 hours and do some damage like it did in Modesto. We got contacted by the lawyer. We just want an honest, open baseball society, and we could one day talk about, you remember back when in the 2025 season, before the dark ages, but we're now in the light. And I think we can get there, but it's just about having finally honest conversations. And we will look forward to more of these in the in the next days to come. So I want to thank everyone for coming. And I'm looking forward to addressing this issue with guests and following the topic. So thank you, everyone, and we'll do it again soon. Thank you.